My parents suddenly gave the $197,000 they had saved for my college for 18 years to my brother to buy a house. When I asked why, my mother said coldly, "You don't need it." I stayed silent. But the moment I called my grandmother, what happened the next day became national news. "You don't need it." My mother said those words while sitting at the kitchen table. She had a coffee mug in her hand like she was talking about something completely ordinary. I was sitting across from her, and in front of me was the folder containing the papers for my college fund. $197,000. 18 years of savings. And that money had now become the down payment for my brother's new house. I asked directly, "You gave him my college fund?" Without even asking me. Mom shrugged. "You got a scholarship. You don't need it." If this story already stirred something in your heart, subscribe and stay with me, because what happened next changed everything and you won't want to miss the truth that unfolds. I said, "The scholarship isn't full. I'll still have to take out loans." She replied casually, "Take out loans. Everyone does. You're strong. You'll manage." I looked at my dad. He was silent, just staring down at the wood grain of the table like it held the answer to everything. I said again, "And him? He can't manage? He's 32. Mom's tone stayed cold. "He has a family. There's a baby on the way. He needed a house." I let out a laugh, but it came out sharp and nervous. "So you just decided my future is optional?" "Don't be dramatic," she said. "We did what was best for the family." I closed the folder slowly. Family? What am I? No one answered. I went home, walked straight into my bedroom, closed the door and stared up at the ceiling. I didn't cry. Not even a little. I just felt empty. For 18 years they had told me every birthday, "This is for your college fund." I worked extra shifts, kept my grades high, skipped parties, stayed focused. And in a single afternoon it was all gone. That evening my brother Ethan texted me. "Heard you talk to Mom. Look, I didn't ask for it. They offered." I typed back, "You said yes." He replied, "I have a family. You'll be fine." I put my phone down. The next morning I was in a drive-thru getting coffee when I decided to call my grandmother. She has always been the kind of person who says exactly what she thinks. "Hi, Grandma," I said. She immediately replied, "How are you, honey? Your voice doesn't sound right." I said quietly, "Mom and Dad gave my college fund to Ethan." There was silence on the line for a few seconds. Then she said slowly, "They did what?" I told her everything. The $197,000. The house. Mom's words, "You don't need it." Grandma said calmly, "Come see me today." I drove to her house that afternoon. She was sitting on the porch when I arrived. I explained everything again from the beginning. Then she asked a very simple question. "Did you sign anything?" "No." "Was the account legally yours?" "Yes." "It was in my name." "They were the custodians." She stood up immediately and walked inside. When she came back out, she had her phone in her hand. "I'm calling my attorney," she said. "Grandma," I said quickly, "it's okay. I'll just take loans." She looked directly at me. "No," she said firmly. "It's not okay." The next few days moved fast. Her attorney pulled the account statements. Technically the money was in a trust under my name. My parents had been custodians, but I was the beneficiary. And they had withdrawn the entire amount and transferred it to my brother without my permission. The attorney said carefully, "This could legally be considered misappropriation of funds." I swallowed. "They're my parents." He nodded. "That doesn't change the law." I called my parents that night. "Grandma talked to an attorney," I told them. My mom immediately snapped. "You did what?" "I didn't," I said. "She did." "Are you seriously going to sue us?" Her voice was tight with disbelief. "I just want my money back." My dad took the phone for the first time. "You're blowing this out of proportion." I replied calmly, $197,000 is not out of proportion. Mom cut in sharply. "If you go through with this, don't expect us to be there for you." I answered quietly, "You weren't there for me anyway." None of this had really come out of nowhere. Ethan had always been the golden child. In high school he was the sports star. When he racked up credit card debt, our parents paid it off. When he quit his job, he lived in their basement for almost a year. I worked part-time jobs the whole time I was in school. Whenever something difficult came up, my parents would smile at me and say, "You're the responsible one." I even remembered something Ethan had said last Thanksgiving. He had leaned back in his chair and said, "Must be nice knowing your future is already paid for." I laughed and replied, "It's not paid for. It's just college." He smirked. "Still, Mom and Dad always save the best for you." At the time I thought he was jealous. Now I realized something else. He had been building a narrative. Quietly. Carefully. Playing the victim. "I have a family. She doesn't." That was the line he kept repeating to everyone. Grandma officially filed the lawsuit. I didn't. She did it in her legal capacity overseeing the trust. The story spread quickly because my parents were well known in our city. My father served on the city council. Within days the local news ran the headline. "Councilman accused of diverting daughter's college trust to son's home purchase." I didn't feel shocked when I saw it. Just numb. Mom texted me immediately. "How could you let this go public?" I replied, "I didn't call the news." She texted back angrily, "Your grandmother did this to ruin us." I stared at the screen for a long moment before answering. "You ruined yourselves when you decided I didn't deserve my own future." The court scheduled mediation. Ethan showed up too. He wouldn't look at me. Finally I said, "You could have said no." He rubbed his hands together nervously. "You don't get it. I was drowning." I replied quietly, "So you pulled me under instead?" He didn't answer. The lawyers explained the situation clearly. Either the money would be returned or the legal consequences could become very serious. The house had just been purchased. They discussed refinancing. Ethan's wife started crying during the meeting. "We didn't know it was illegal," she said through tears. I looked at her. I didn't know my own parents would steal from me. Eventually an agreement was reached. The money would be repaid in full along with legal fees. And because the investigation had reached the city ethics board, my parents were required to issue a public apology. I didn't attend the press conference. Instead I was at Walmart buying school supplies for myself. The irony wasn't lost on me. While standing in the checkout line I watched the live stream on my phone. My father stood behind a podium saying, "We made a mistake in judgment." My mother stood beside him. Her expression looked the same as it had at the kitchen table. Cold, controlled. But this time there was anger behind her eyes. That night my mom called me. "Are you happy now?" I answered honestly. "No. I'm just done." She said bitterly, "Family doesn't do this to each other." I spoke slowly. Family doesn't steal from each other. A few months later the money was finally transferred back into my account. I started college that fall. I still had to take out some loans but far fewer than I would have otherwise. Grandma helped me move into my dorm on move-in day. As she carried a box down the hallway she smiled gently and said, "You didn't ask for revenge. You asked for fairness." I nodded. "It doesn't feel good." She chuckled softly. "It's not supposed to. It's supposed to be right." Tonight I'm sitting in my dorm room writing this. I don't talk to my parents anymore. Ethan sent me one text a few weeks ago. "I hope someday you understand." I never replied. But the truth is I do understand now. I'm not the little girl who was always told, "You'll be fine." Now I decide what I need. And whenever I remember those words, "You don't need it," I open my bank app, look at the balance and say quietly to myself, "Actually I did." If this story moved you or made you think, please take a moment to like and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps these real, powerful stories reach more people. Thank you so much for reading and being part of this journey. Your time and support truly mean more than you know.